It sort of rehashed old revelations with a new twist. As it turns out, we've apparently been wrong all along. Britain is a nasty, racist hellhole where only magnificent Meghan stood up to all this, and the world's biggest victim.
The California dream looks like it's cracking right down the middle. Prince Harry is reportedly preparing to leave Montecito, packing up the mansion that once symbolized freedom and peace. This doesn't feel relaxed. It feels strategic, like someone seeking cover when the pressure gets too real. This isn't about reconciliation. It's about protection. The irony is clear. The same royal system Harry once condemned now looks like his safest refuge. And just as he seems ready to move, Piers Morgan drops a bombshell. Images that send shockwaves across the Atlantic. These aren't casual photos. They're yacht shots of Meghan Markle mingling within elite circles that have long raised eyebrows. Some of those circles have been linked, at least in public discussion, to figures like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, names heavy with scandal. The resemblance to past royal controversies, especially involving Prince Andrew, has people wondering if history might be repeating itself. For Harry, who spent years cutting royal ties, the timing couldn't be worse. Piers Morgan's revelations changed the tone overnight. Suddenly, California no longer feels like sanctuary. Morgan, always controversial, claimed that after one of his explosive interviews, Meghan personally contacted his employers behind the scenes to pressure them into silencing him. No public statement, just direct contact. Yet Morgan insists he's standing firm, arguing that the material he's gathered raises legitimate questions. Those questions revolve around access, privilege, and lifestyle. Public records and eyewitness accounts have placed Meghan at exclusive Soho House events, including an Istanbul opening in 2015. Insiders reportedly described her presence there as social filler, a polite term for guests invited to make elite gatherings look lively. That kind of access opens doors: private jets, luxury yachts, international parties. Not once, not twice, but over years. Observers began noticing a pattern. How did an actress from a modest cable show sustain that high-end lifestyle? Industry estimates suggest her suit's salary wouldn't stretch to five-star hotels and Mediterranean trips. So people began asking, who opened those doors? Piers Morgan didn't create these rumors. He simply gave voice to what had circulated quietly for years. No hard accusations, just questions that wouldn't go away. The proximity to extreme wealth, the access to secretive environments, details that take on new meaning when viewed in hindsight. When Meghan later appeared beside a prince, wearing a royal title, those old images resurfaced with a new kind of resonance. Context changes everything. What once seemed trivial now looks loaded with significance. Then came the Ghislaine Maxwell connection. Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence in Florida, her influence gone, her social empire dismantled. Prosecutors note a simple truth. People stay silent only when silence still benefits them. Maxwell has nothing left to lose. Reports suggest she's begun naming specific individuals from the same elite networks she once navigated. That's where the story starts to intersect with Meghan's past social world, at least according to media speculation. For Harry, the optics are brutal. His wife's past social links are under renewed scrutiny, while his own relationship with the royal family remains tense. It looks less like rebellion now and more like retreat. Observers describe this as a strategic repositioning, a move back toward the monarchy not out of nostalgia, but necessity. The California chapter, once painted as peaceful independence, now feels like a liability. Meanwhile, Morgan's persistence ensures the story won't fade. His critics call it obsession. His supporters call it journalism. Either way, he's reignited interest in one of the most polarizing public figures of the decade. The royal narrative has always been about image management, and both Harry and Meghan built theirs on control, choosing what to share and what to conceal. But control slips easily in the age of screenshots and archives. The internet doesn't forget. What began as a love story about breaking free from the institution is now tangled in the very power structures it tried to escape. From royal palaces to California estates, from yacht decks to courtroom headlines, the threads connect in uncomfortable ways. And somewhere between freedom and fallout, the California dream seems to be unraveling. The Soho House connection sits right at that intersection. Soho House was never just a trendy, members-only club for creatives, even if that was the public image. Behind closed doors, its international locations functioned as social bridges. Hollywood mixed with global finance. New money crossed paths with old power. People who loved attention mingled with people who avoided cameras at all costs. These weren't random parties. They were curated environments, carefully staged. The right mood, the right faces, the right energy timed perfectly for powerful guests to arrive. Charm, discretion, and atmosphere mattered more than fame. According to multiple insiders over the years, Meghan Markle was flown internationally to help fill those rooms. Not as a headliner, not as the star, but as someone whose presence helped set the tone and make powerful people feel relaxed and generous. The legal spotlight shifted during the Virginia Giuffre civil case. This is where the discussion moves from online chatter into serious legal context. During the civil case brought by Virginia Giuffre, the testimony that permanently damaged Prince Andrew's public standing, Meghan Markle's name nearly entered the courtroom. Not as a defendant, that distinction matters, but as a potential witness. Witnesses are not accused of crimes. They are individuals who may have seen, heard, or been present during moments that later became legally relevant. Court-related positioning during the discovery phase revealed why investigators considered that option. First, Meghan was living in the United States, making jurisdiction simple. Second, she was described as a close associate of Prince Andrew during a period that overlapped with alleged misconduct. Third, she was present within Jeffrey Epstein's broader social environment during years when criminal activity was later established. Ultimately, she was never called. The case settled before testimony became necessary. But the significance wasn't the outcome. It was the process. Federal investigators with subpoena power reviewed her history and believed there were legitimate questions worth asking. In federal cases of this magnitude, witnesses are not considered casually. You don't nearly get called unless there's a concrete reason to believe your testimony could matter. That alone should have raised alarms for anyone paying attention. Instead, it was buried beneath wedding headlines, glossy magazine spreads, and fairy tale narratives that dominated public attention at the time. The warning signs didn't disappear. They were simply drowned out by spectacle. Years later, with Ghislaine Maxwell speaking from prison and Piers Morgan releasing photographic material, what once looked like a narrow escape now feels like trouble that was only delayed. That almost testimony moment didn't disappear. It just waited. And now it's crashing back into the spotlight at full speed. As online discussion explodes across media platforms on both sides of the Atlantic, the idea of Montecito as a peaceful refuge has collapsed. What was once sold as paradise now feels unlivable. The pressure is coming from every direction, and there's nowhere left to hide. This isn't one isolated issue. It's a pileup. Multiple crises are colliding at the same time, each one making the others worse. According to local reporting and insider chatter, the wealthy Montecito social circle has quietly shut its doors. Invitations stopped. Charity events moved on. Dinner parties that once included the Sussexes now happen without them, no explanations given. Even everyday spaces reportedly feel different. High-end cafes and boutique shops that once rolled out the welcome now feel tense instead of friendly. One local voice, speaking anonymously, summed it up bluntly. Montecito already has real celebrities who value privacy and don't bring global drama wherever they go. Discretion matters here, and controversy wears out its welcome fast. The social freeze is rough, but the financial squeeze is even louder. Netflix, the platform that famously invested over $100 million in the Sussex brand, appears to have lost patience. Industry insiders say executives expected compelling, audience-building content. What they got instead failed to connect the way they hoped. The documentary series divided viewers instead of expanding goodwill. Follow-up projects stalled, underperformed, or never fully launched. According to entertainment sources, Netflix has little appetite left for second chances. As one insider put it, the numbers tell the story, and the engagement just isn't there. In branding terms, the situation looks grim. When a project stops attracting viewers, the relationship turns cold fast. From a business perspective, it's not personal. It's math. And right now, the math isn't working in Harry and Meghan's favor. Then there's the internal collapse at the Archewell Foundation. The staff turnover reads like a warning label. 11 professionals reportedly exited in a relatively short period. These weren't interns. These were experienced people who relocated, committed, and believed they were building something long-term. That list includes James Holt, the executive director, who was featured prominently in the Netflix series and moved his family from the UK to help shape the vision. His eventual departure raised eyebrows. In nonprofit and PR circles, rapid exits like this almost always signal deeper structural problems. The head of public relations reportedly lasted only 7 months, a red flag in any high-stakes PR world. That short tenure signals dysfunction, weak leadership, or outright chaos behind the scenes. Financial strain deepens the cracks. The $14 million Montecito mansion carries 6-figure property taxes, plus multi-million-dollar security, staff, and upkeep. The burn rate is staggering, and the income streams that once sustained it are shrinking fast. Spotify walked away publicly, with executive Bill Simmons mocking the deal on air. Netflix enthusiasm has cooled. Book sales and speaking engagements no longer hit like they used to.
Maxwell was just sentenced to 20 years behind bars for her part in grooming young girls to sexually service Jeffrey Epstein and his friend.
Public fascination has turned to fatigue. Reports suggest Meghan is exploring a move. Texas with no state income tax, or parts of Europe with better privacy and financial laws. The message is clear. This isn't a lifestyle upgrade. It's survival. Montecito isn't the dream ending. It's a financial dead end. But relocation can't erase what's already public. The yacht photos shared by Piers Morgan are circulating widely, and Ghislaine Maxwell's potential testimony ignores borders. That's what makes the next controversy sting even more: the renewed pregnancy debate. Morgan's old commentary about timeline inconsistencies is being re-examined. People are asking, if public images don't align with records, what else might not add up? These questions never truly disappeared. They just went quiet until now. Comparisons to Catherine, Princess of Wales, fuel the conversation. Kate appeared outside the Lindo wing hours after giving birth, 3 times, consistent and transparent. Meghan's pregnancy, by contrast, was mostly private, which is her right, but that privacy created confusion. Details shifted and explanations never came. Online observers compared photos showing dramatic differences in bump size and movement within short time spans, sometimes days apart. One appearance showed careful, protective posture. Another showed her moving freely, even bending with ease. Bodies vary, angles differ, clothing changes, but the rapid contrast kept speculation alive. Commentary resurfaced about internal scheduling documents. According to long-circulating claims, palace security calendars sometimes didn't align with public appearances, full-day overlaps rather than tight scheduling. No one proved wrongdoing, but no one clarified either, and the silence only deepened curiosity. Then came the birth location twist. Meghan reportedly planned a home birth at Frogmore Cottage, but on May 6, 2019, Archie was delivered at London's Portland Hospital, a site never mentioned beforehand. The palace offered no explanation, no statement about a change of plans. While circumstances can shift for medical or personal reasons, the lack of comment stood out sharply. In high-profile worlds, silence becomes noise. When timelines change without acknowledgement, the public doesn't stop wondering. It digs deeper. Each unanswered question erodes trust a little more. That loss of confidence echoes inside the royal family itself. Prince Harry reportedly sees the danger clearly because he's seen it before. The Prince Andrew precedent hangs like a warning. Andrew didn't fall because of gossip. He fell when evidence entered the legal record: sworn testimony, authenticated photos, depositions under oath. Once that documentation existed, PR spins stopped working. That's what truly scares Harry, according to royal watchers, that this situation could slide from rumor to record. Once something moves into official testimony or legal filings, there's no rewinding it. Andrew became the cautionary tale. Years of quiet damage control dissolved overnight when the evidence went public. Legal truth, not media cycles, ended his royal role permanently. Inside the palace, that's the nightmare scenario repeating itself. Financial pressure, unanswered questions, and public suspicion can all be managed until one sworn statement turns whispers into history. For now, the Sussexes appear trapped between image and accountability. The brand that once sold liberation now faces the same forces it rejected: scrutiny, documentation, and consequence. That's why the comparison feels so dangerous. Harry understands the pattern. Both situations involve royal proximity to Jeffrey Epstein's broader social world. Both involve environments where powerful people gathered with limited oversight. And both involve investigators who don't deal in optics, only records. Andrew was directly named in sworn testimony by Virginia Giuffre. That testimony exists forever, regardless of settlements or public silence. Meghan, by contrast, was never accused, but she was nearly called as a witness in the same legal process. That distinction matters, but so does the proximity. The same case, the same investigative framework, the same legal team with subpoena power, the same ability to ask questions under oath that can't be walked back later. That alone is enough to make anyone nervous. Harry knows something else too. The Royal Institution has tools that California publicists simply don't. Specialized legal teams, crisis managers trained over centuries, protocols built specifically to contain problems before they reach courtrooms where records become permanent. Once testimony begins, those tools lose their power. Palace influence works best before subpoenas are issued, not after. Once legal processes formally start, even royalty has limits. History shows how this works. Princess Sophia entered royal life with a widely documented pre-marriage public history. That past didn't vanish, but once she became royal, it stopped dominating mainstream conversation. The institution absorbed it. Another example is Crown Princess Meta Marit, who publicly acknowledged a past social connection to Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. The apology was issued. Media coverage followed briefly. Then the story closed. The institution moved forward. That's how the system works when it works. Early containment, clear lines, controlled narratives, no courtrooms, no sworn testimony, no permanent legal files. But here's the difference that appears to be driving panic. Those protections only function before legal escalation. Once investigators begin asking questions under oath, no protocol can erase what comes next. That's the question hanging over everything. The one that doesn't fade with time. The one that can't be solved by moving houses, changing countries, or hiring better lawyers. The question many observers believe Prince Harry is now forced to confront is simple, direct, and unavoidable. What did he know about his wife's past, and when did he know it? Here's the crossroads that defines everything. If Prince Harry knew about the yacht appearances, the elite party circuits, and the public questions surrounding how that lifestyle was funded, and if he helped downplay or minimize those details, then observers argue he could face serious reputational consequences. Not proven guilt, not legal judgment, but perception that doesn't fade easily. On the other hand, if he truly didn't know, if he entered the marriage without full awareness or was misled about key parts of the past, then he walked straight into a crisis without realizing it. Either scenario paints a picture of loss of control, loss of credibility, loss of the California life he worked so hard to build. That's why so many commentators say the fairy tale chapter is over. Either way, institutional protection suddenly matters again. The same royal system Harry once publicly criticized is now the only structure with the experience, resources, and insulation to slow what's unfolding. This is the same institution he described as harmful, uncaring, and damaging to his mental health. The same system he blamed for deep personal pain. And yet, when pressure mounts, that system becomes the last line of defense. The contradiction is impossible to miss. That's why the reported move away from Montecito feels symbolic. The California dream wasn't just a location. It was a statement. Independence, freedom, control. And now that vision appears to be collapsing under the weight of unresolved questions and nonstop scrutiny. Public discussion keeps circling the same points. The Yacht photographs released by Piers Morgan. The broader conversations around elite social circles once associated with Ghislaine Maxwell. The renewed focus on moments that were never fully explained at the time. None of this exists in isolation anymore. Add to that the ongoing analysis of pregnancy timelines, birth announcements that felt unusually scripted to some observers, and moments of public confusion around official communication. Each detail alone might fade. Together, they stack up and keep the conversation alive. Then there's the internal picture. The staff departures from the Archewell Foundation continue to raise eyebrows in nonprofit and media circles. High turnover at senior levels is rarely dismissed as coincidence. To critics, it suggests instability rather than momentum. But the most striking element to many viewers is the silence. No detailed statements, no clarifications, no coordinated responses addressing specific points. For someone known to actively defend her image in the past, that absence feels louder than any denial. There are no legal challenges aimed at stopping the discussion, no public-facing rebuttals offering context, no prominent friends stepping forward with personal accounts. Just quiet. And in the court of public opinion, silence doesn't always read as dignity. Sometimes it reads as avoidance. Harry's reaction has drawn even more attention. Instead of publicly challenging what he views as false narratives, he appears focused on repositioning himself closer to royal structures. That move alone has fueled speculation, even among people who once defended every decision he made. Commentators keep asking the same question. If claims were clearly untrue, wouldn't a response come quickly? Wouldn't legal teams move fast? Wouldn't strong denials dominate headlines the way past disputes did? Instead, what the public sees is retreat, withdrawal, and unanswered questions multiplying by the day. That doesn't prove anything, but it shapes perception in powerful ways. Right now, the story isn't being driven by declarations. It's being driven by absence. And absence in moments like this becomes its own narrative. If the claims circulating right now were completely false, wouldn't you defend your partner loudly and clearly? Wouldn't you confront the narrative head-on? Instead, what the public sees is silence, followed by a sudden move back toward London and the institutional legal machine that knows how to manage crises quietly. That pattern hasn't gone unnoticed. When powerful people stop explaining and start relocating, attention sharpens. When silence replaces denial, speculation fills the vacuum. That's not judgment. That's human nature. To many observers, the pattern now feels unmistakable. When yacht photographs surface at the same time, prison testimony enters public discussion. When financial pressure collides with social isolation, and when old questions resurface all at once, the fairy tale doesn't just crack, it collapses. Commentators keep circling back to the same question. Did Prince Harry know about parts of Meghan's past that later stirred controversy, or was he blindsided by what's now surfacing? Either way, analysts say there's no safe middle ground. That's what makes this moment so charged. The monarchy may have to step in, not out of sentiment, but survival. Protecting Harry means protecting the bloodline, and by extension, the institution itself. Royal history shows it clearly. When pressure rises, the crown protects its own. Outsiders, however beloved, don't get the same shield. Now, as Harry reportedly leaves Montecito and Piers Morgan keeps fueling discussion with new material, the reckoning feels immediate. It's unfolding in real time, under global scrutiny. The real threat isn't gossip, it's documentation. If testimony emerges in court or investigation, those records don't vanish. Once names are spoken under oath, they become part of history. No relocation or rebranding changes that. The photos exist. The reporting exists. The legal interest exists. Every thread, from Yacht circles to Maxwell connections, remains on record. Pressure is mounting from all sides. Financial strain, public fatigue, possible legal scrutiny, and growing isolation. Each factor tightening the same knot. Not long ago, Harry and Meghan vowed to live freely, beyond royal control and media intrusion. Now, many see him edging back toward the very system he fled, seeking the stability only the monarchy can offer. The California dream that once symbolized freedom now looks fractured. The fairy tale has turned procedural, maybe even legal. The next chapter won't be about romance, it'll be about accountability. When the questioning begins, who gets protection? Who stands alone? And what price will be paid to preserve the crown? This story isn't closing, it's just entering its most revealing phase yet.